Oh boy, I'm absolutely certain that if I was to have typed one more tag, I would have had to gone back and delete some. Did you ever notice how information overload can be a bad thing? You ever notice how people like to tell you too much to keep you from focusing on one thing? Yeah. Down in the South, we like to make sure our stories have context and character, aren't just series of facts. Like the fact that this lighter don't work. Well, we've got a serious problem here. I keep thinking of things to say and then getting distracted before I start the broadcast, and this profoundly easy train of thought to carry that even related to a Star Trek episode I just watched has suddenly escaped me. Shit. Got too many things to actually tell you about, but this one abstract thought was very relevant. Let's see here. I feel like Shinji trying to annoy Hiyori. Shinji and Hiyori at Soul Society. The thing that's distracted me, maybe I should go ahead and just share it first. In fact, let me go ahead and do that.
So red tide is otherwise known as a harmful algal bloom, and generally they're in marine waters, and they occur because of nutrients in the water and the presence of a microorganism called a dinoflagellate.
Our hope is ultimately to get cause of death. Due to the condition of this animal, we may not be able to tell that today. We'll collect a host of samples. They'll be slightly truncated based on how decomposed this animal is, but hopefully we'll be able to at least get enough to be able to test it for brevetoxin and some of the other harmful algal blooms.
We have lots of different kinds of dead fish, mullets, grouper.
Have you ever seen it this bad?
No, it's the worst. It's the worst so far.
Welcome to the Lost-Begotten channel.
here with you. I know I gotta keep you by my side till the day I die. 'Cause baby, ecstasy is in my hand. Oh, when I'm holding yours in mine and walking in the sand. Oh, baby, you know it's fine. Oh, now you done and piss me off. You ain't done something you shouldn't have done. Baby, I'm mad. I'm going on. Oh, I'm going on.
Well, we've got good news and we've got bad news. Good news is, or wait, bad news first. The bad news is, I didn't remember the insightful opening lecture I was going to give. The good news is, nobody's fucking watching anyways. So anyways, let's just situate right there so everybody that's not watching can be reminded that they can chat. Yeah. I am tempted to reopen Netflix just to figure out what episode I was watching. So I can re-realize the lesson I was trying to apply from it. Other than information overload. Information overload might have something to do with it. I was thinking about that earlier today. How, there's just a lot of that going on. I think one of the issues is the idea of impartiality, the appearance of objectivity, not taking sides and that kind of thing, and appealing to entertainment. Profit as the priority, right? But the fact of the matter is, this isn't a time like we imagined the time after 9/11 to be. A time where we just had to keep our economy going and the government would take care of the terrorists for us. This is a time that requires a citizenry-wide awakening. And when we're told by the people who are trying to keep us asleep and silent and enslave us, you're just being hyper-partisan by dwelling on, people betraying our country, they need to understand that this isn't about partisanship. This is about civic responsibility. It would be irresponsible of any broadcast not to be making an issue of what has happened to this country. Because we have so much to learn and can be so easily herded into the next stall before we can even remember what the last room we were in was like. But anyways, I guess there is some other good news. The other good news is I have coffee. Oh, hot coffee, hot coffee, hot coffee. Get the Snapchat back. Oh. Okay, no, but seriously, this is killing me. What was this wonderful topic that my mind was dwelling on and coming up with analogy after analogy? I have to reload Netflix and see if the fucking previous episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine that I was watching will remind me. If it doesn't, then I'm just really fucked. And I'll just move on to talking about other shit, but Dingo, do you mind? Dingo! Fuck off. But don't look at me with that tone of face. Jeez. Fucking devices and pets ganging up on me. Okay. No, don't do that. Don't start with this bullshit, Netflix. Fucking. If I wanted to watch the fucking thing, I would watch the fucking thing. Stop just fucking playing the fucking thing before I even fucking decide I want to fucking watch the fucking thing. If I wanted a preview, I would hit a little fucking button that said preview. I'm not bitter or traumatized. No, not me. Can't twitch on this camera. The camera doesn't keep up with my twitching. Okay. the alternate universe. That's not helpful at all. Kitten, why are you just determined to sit up there where you do not fucking belong? Huh? Huh? What is your problem? Say hello, kitten. Hello, kitten. So, what a pain in the ass. It's like almost like there's an acoustic, maybe an EM vibration that starts when I start the live stream. I don't know if it's coming from me. I would think by now I'd be used to making fucking live streams and I wouldn't experience a sudden inhibition of thought. But it's amazing to me how I can just fucking have like this valuable lesson. And it just suddenly slips my mind the moment I fucking... Well, I go and I type a bunch of tags, is the thing. I have to type a bunch of fucking tags, you know, so people can still not find my fucking videos. Why do I bother? I don't know. But anyways, today we're going to be having fun with MS Paint. It's going to be like fucking Bill Rosby or Bob Cosby or somebody. I don't know. We're going to have some picture pages. Oh, wait, is that trademarked? No, we're not going to have picture pages. Picture Pages does not support or condone the programming of this channel because they're not psychic and they can't see the fucking future. Because that was a long time ago. Anyways. Ooh, my wife is watching the Stargate movie. How appropriate. Considering we are going to be lining up some shit. Let's see here. The more profound realization I still have in my head because I just rearranged some fucking things and suddenly had a really crazy vision. And I'm going to get to the crazy vision later. But that's an easy thing to remember. Because that's fucking mind-blowing, and that's not something you forget. Especially considering that it solves a mystery about a reoccurring dream that I've had my entire life. That I've known like many Wiccans and different types of spiritual people to have had the same dream. In which all of these people are forming a column on top of each other, and like people are climbing on top of other people to get up somewhere desperately. And that's about the extent that anybody fucking knows. And it's as horrifying as it sounds. As horrifying as you can imagine it to be. But I think I figured out exactly what that was and why it happened. And it's fucking crazy. But anyways, what the fuck was the... Huh. Completely escaping me. This was a lesson that was more relevant to your world, not the little world that I live in. There's still a little bit of life left in it. So, who's watching? Who's here? Say hello in the chats if you won't. I'll just assuming you're one of those people that just love me and hate me at the same time. I can't get enough of these guys. Like, do you know that there's no rational reason other than that you are a Google employee that you would persist this behavior for so long? You know, if you don't like what the fuck somebody says, you bitch them out and then you block them, you leave them alone, you move on with your life. This guy is obviously a Russian intelligence agent who obviously works for Google. And I enjoy the data he provides, as do others. But as he was sitting in his car deciding he was going to go back home, angry at himself for having considered being afraid of me, it reminds me of the time that this roommate I had a knife that he was doing something with in the kitchen. And I passed him by without raising my guard. And I could sense that he misunderstood the situation completely. Yes, he had a knife within 16 inches of my vital organs. And I was acting as though I was completely off guard. What he didn't seem to realize is that I can sense the exact tension in somebody's muscle movements. I can determine exactly where they're going to strike. And that somebody with a sword pointed at my throat or a gun pointed at my head is still no threat to me. I've proven this time and time again in the real world. And, you know, having no rational reason to be afraid of death kind of helps me in that regard. And my roommate, I let him get away with thinking what he thought. I just moved on about my business. Until I got in some sort of an argument with him. And he said he was going to burn my house down. Little condo. Nice little place. I said, get your ass down here. He's sending the shit to me in a text. He's fucking upstairs, I'm downstairs. I'm sitting at my computer, facing the same wall that the stairs are on. He come running down the stairs. He come running right towards me. And with one move, I got up and kicked him all the way back to the door. He landed 1.5 feet off the ground against the door. And did a lovely cartoon-like slide, by the way, which I still find satisfying to this day. And I said, you know, the other day, when you had that knife, and I had my back turned to you, and you had the thought that you had the advantage, let me make one thing clear to you. No such thing ever occurred. You think you can burn my house down? No, you can't. I will kill you. Looked him dead in the eye, and he knew I meant it. But even after making a fake identity to stalk me online and then sending me text messages from his work phone so I wouldn't first know it was him, even after all that, he'd pack his shit and leave. Now, two things could have happened with this boy. He could have done better, or he would have lived as long as he was useful, and then got hit by a fucking truck, or whatever. And that's all that this guy is to me. This guy who's, been stalking me and harassing me on multiple little fake accounts for as long as I've had the channel. What's fascinating to me is that his best strategic move would be to make me forget he even exists. I mean, I don't really concern myself with small fries. But instead, he's insisted upon drawing my gaze. And even when I make it clear to him beyond a shadow of a doubt that, boy, I will kill you, he doesn't seem to learn. The holy fire, the great flood, no matter how much you deny me, I'm here. as far as the strategic reason that I was referring to, let's just say a good detective never allows evidence to be destroyed. So anyways, maybe the news will remind me. That's just reminding me of the information overload, General. There's just so many things that people don't really need to fucking know about. Why is Indonesia's capital, Jakarta, sinking? Oh, and sports. Oh. Gotta love sports. Gotta love 5 grown men with gray hair in suits sitting around at a table talking about sports. Because that's a thing in reality. This is what I mean by you shouldn't blame God for all your problems, because, clearly some things God had nothing to do with. God had nothing to do with anything to do with Sports Center, other than Keith Olbermann, but, Here's a fine example of the difference between someone who has faith and understands God's providence and is grateful for creation and life, and thus does not give up in their efforts to accomplish God's work, and an atheist with what remains of a conscience. Talented, maybe perhaps even a literary genius, certainly a literary master. But Keith Olbermann, good example. He's on Sports Center, or was on Sports Center. And he'd prefer to be on Sports Center, just like I'd prefer to be breeding clownfish and running a fish store. Oh, of all the stores I've run, I would love to just run a fucking fish store. But Keith, I don't know, was he afraid of getting Me Too'd? Did they have some dirt on him? Is there some reason why he just gave up and disappeared? Acting like he could just call it and walk away and it would just fucking happen. A year later, Keith, it ain't fucking happened. And do you know why? You know the one reason, the only reason why Trump is still in office? The one and only single solitary fucking factor that through everything becomes the determinant variable. It is the one thing that if you take every other aspect of the situation and isolate them as a control, and then you change this one variable and then reevaluate the situation, you will have a completely different outcome. And that is, the world is missing the opportunity for revival. And I don't mean the revival of the sycophantic rebirth of patriarchy that all these pawns believe in when they get sent after me. I mean the revival of an understanding of God's plan for mankind. Imagine if everybody actually understood God's plan. Imagine if people actually realized who God was. Not all the bullshit children's stories, not all the straw man arguments. I mean, really, actually came face to face with the Almighty. What a mortifying, stupefying, humbling experience that would be. Oh wait, so he's here and he has been like most of the time? Yeah, most of the time. And we chose for him to go away? And that's how things got so fucked up? Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Kind of figures, doesn't it? You see, you're never going to get past patriarchy without the authority to do so. And the fact of the matter is, patriarchy, with its supposedly given yet actually self-proclaimed authority, has deceived the world into believing that God has enmity with women, when it's actually Satan that has enmity with women. It's the deceiver. You know, hence the reason why you've been bullshitted. Because the serpent the Nagashidaya was more subtle than all of the creatures, all of the beasts, which the Lord God hath created. Unlike this kitten, she is not subtle at all. She has just crawled on me and just said, "Love me." Which means that I have to love her now. So how can someone that can read continue to consider women unworthy of respect unless they're being deceived? Well, clearly they have been deceived. The word for rib, for instance, as we've discussed previously, it's not there. It's nowhere in the Bible. And if it were in the Bible, it would probably be something that somebody was eating. Which is the reason why bullshitters have put that word in there. It implies submission. It implies dominion. It implies a predator-prey relationship, which is all too akin to the chauvinist. This, when taught to a young boy, begins to form a neural psychosis that inhibits and perverts their development and their psychological and empathic understanding of the world for the rest of their life. And it is knowing this and how truly spiritual people are the backbone of any nation's defense that has caused our enemies to have infiltrated our very religious institutions for centuries now and caused this foundational lie. Because when you talk about, Exodus and the New Testament even, you're talking about moral, developmental aspects that are presented as moral and developmental aspects of your life and of your journey through it. But when it comes to Genesis, we're talking about foundational principles. There's the subconscious implication that these lessons are the most important lessons. It's more than foundational, it's existential. And the young boy grows up reading that lie in one word, rib. And their entire universe, as they perceive it, becomes based on that lie. I hear a big crowd chanting. Apparently this is the point at which the people of... What is it? Oh, what's the name? What's the name of the first planet? Not Chulak. Not Dakara. Not Tatooine. Fuck. Looks like Tatooine. The cartouche on... What's the name of the fucking planet? The planet on the movie. I am so bad with names. Just, wow. Really? Can't remember the name of the fucking first planet on Stargate SG-1, the fucking movie. I could probably remember everything that I don't want to remember. I could probably just name the whole cast right now. Name every other planet but that planet. What the fuck is the name of the planet? Good morning, Mr. Conway. How are you, sir? But yeah, those people, they sounded like they were done with the lie. Oh, they're fucking, what was it? Is it M16s or MP40s on there? I think they just had M16s, right? Fun little gun for somebody who doesn't know what a real gun's like. Anyway. It's not Chulak, damn it. What's the name of the fucking... If that gets any louder, I'm gonna fucking... Alright. What's up, Carlos? So anyways, one really has to understand that a house built upon sand will be swept into the sea. It doesn't matter how strong your worldview is. No matter how many people agree with you, no matter how strong you and those friends of yours seem to be together. These are earthly rewards. In this lifetime that you have right now, it's just a yawn between blinks of an eye. And to grow up thinking that man is somehow the chosen part of creation and that women are just a little part of us. To continue to interpret the rest of the Bible from that standpoint. And to not understand that red flag right there. What you're doing when you build your entire point of view in life on deception is you're surrendering your spirit's cohesion, its integrity, its power to whoever wrote that lie. You, in every sense, become their zombie slave. Because from that point on, from the moment you learn how to read the book of fucking Genesis, you are a pawn in their agenda. And you have no free will of your own. Now, before the language we've found to be Gaelic, Basque, even before the Upper Valley language, which is all I will call it. There was the language of Eden. And understanding this language is actually one of the keys to understanding how to read the Bible. Now, every word in this language was a palindrome. Just, it sounds horrible pronounced by a human. That's one thing I found in Stargate SG-1, as a matter of fact, that I knew had to be mused. I knew what it meant before the translation was given. And I could see it written down. It's not quite how they say it on the TV show. I pronounce it like it's written down. It just sounded similar to something on the TV show. Ine aquietos. We are beings of the ancient time, or the ancient times. And the S, like English and Spanish, is plural, and a suffix such as that is the only aspect of any word in that language that is not spelled as a mirror. Exactly the same, front to back. Not pronounced the same, because if you ever wonder why the Germanic languages like the I before E and E before I thing so much, that's one of the key things to understanding how most of these words are pronounced. And it is certainly the predecessor to the Gaelic language, I would think, Mr. Conway. You might even find something that might be attributed to relating to Da Vinci or something like that, with the mirrored writing or the back or the front to back writing, something like that. And they might have thought it was just a thing about Leonardo da Vinci. I don't know. People like to pass esoteric things off as simply rational, no matter how far they have to stretch the truth to do it. You know, like it's perfectly rational that, you know, Adam went to McDonald's and ordered a McRib and decided to fuck it. Wait, no. That's not how the story. Just like apple pie. Okay, sorry. I wonder what the pickles would feel like. I'm sorry. I'll stop. And the pickles, and the pickles, and the pickles. It gives a whole new meaning to the phrase tickle pickle. Or pickle tickle. Or is that a phrase? I don't know. That's probably not a phrase. Anyways. What were we talking about? Something about fucking a sandwich. You know, this one time at band camp. Oh, never mind. Yep. Gaelic sentences are kind of said backwards. I found that was my biggest difficulty in remembering the language, was just remembering the grammar. Because then on top of that, you have the whole nomenclature thing. Okay, so you'll have names surrounded by these palindrome words, but the reason why they're said backwards is because when using names as words in a practical manner, it works backwards better. And I wish I could explain that better. But anyone who's studied it probably makes sense. But yes, it's the same in the front as it in the back, as it is in the back. And people seem to think that and even when they apply this principle, because of the fact that they have the words wrong in the beginning, they don't understand what's supposed to happen at the end. And they've come up with all these very complex rationalizations that in themselves represent a complete misunderstanding of what God's purpose for reality must be if God exists. But if you simply undo the damage in the beginning, get the story right in the beginning, build the house on a solid foundation. In fact, you can use one of the things at the end of the book to set you free from the bondage of enslavement that comes from lies. The truth will set you free. All of this psychological infortitude, all of this sociopathy that has become chauvinism, this organized acquiescence of spirit to the demonic agenda, you are the sons of the serpent. If you participate in this, if you are a part and parcel to this, you are damned. It says it in your book. And the truth that you've been missing is what's going to set you free. The truth is the word used for what God took from Adam to make Eve is used 35 times in the Old Testament. And it is translated every other time as side, as in but you can't start wars with that kind of logic. You can't control minds with that kind of logic. You can't oppress women with that kind of logic. Because do you know what that means? That means that all these people throughout the generations who were basically exterminated for their beliefs the people who were exterminating just didn't know how to fucking read. And you wonder why I might be pissed off? So we had 3 viewers through all that. I'm pretty sure it was Monsieur Fuckernut. Is that his name? Oh. No. I stand corrected. The same way, if you know anybody's under demonic influence, judge yourself by your works. And bear in mind that complacency is a demon. Probably the most effective one. It breeds cowards of all types. And if you're wondering just how successful they've been, just how horrible the imbalance is this day, if you had to give physicality in order to understand their interoperability with this dimension, picture some leech-like anime creatures that just cause a behavior by injecting a psychoactive, chemical. They cause your body to produce they get you on a frequency that makes this chemical, that makes this neurophysical imbalance happen. And as long as they can keep you on that frequency, they just get bigger and bigger. Now, right now, most people have between 17 and 23. And actually usually either or. But sometimes there are exceptions. Usually an unbalanced life is something happening for a very advanced reason that doesn't have much to do with most humans. So. But the numbers 17 and 23, those are the numbers of demons that most people have. So what you can extrapolate from that is that you can only get rid of so many demons. The rest of them are going to be there to test you all the time. I wonder if I could chart that out. Seems like something I've already done, or that's been done. There's some demons that always affect everyone all the time. But there's some demons that represent a pattern of submission, of self-deception, that results in basically a collapse of one's spiritual energy. Now, while it would be interesting to focus on this for a while, and actually mapping that out and determining which of those demons and exactly how they are interrelated in this dimension, because, well, I haven't done it for 14 years. So, previous reality may be different. Although it would be interesting to check those memories for accuracy, because I like to explore how things have changed. But instead of discussing the exact nature of the 6 rebels, I'd like to get into their family history a little. Now, this is a work in progress, and I was even considering foregoing tonight's broadcast, but part of it kind of put me into a little trance where I seem to remember more of that reoccurring dream. Now, who here have any of y'all had it? It's mostly been redheaded women that I've known that have had it, actually, which is probably relevant. But anyways, so let me pull something up on here right quick. There we go. Still have it on mute, and oh, fuck's sake. Come on. Just wanted to pause it and get the thing out of the way. There we go. Okay, got that ready. I'm gonna push your forehead. I'm gonna push my forehead. Isn't there a 17 numerology thing with that QAnon? Oh, I'm sure. Remember how they had the money, the movie about 23? Yeah, I could make a whole other fucking broadcast about that. from 6 to 9. But then from 9 to 6. So that's just over a quarter. What happens to the third of the demons if 2 of their strongest fall? In fact, make it 3. A knight, a rook, and the queen. All the king's horses and all the king's men. Won't be able to take over the world again. So, just some background. On a previous dream, let me pick a folder, any folder. Which fucking one is it? This one. Pan. Webcam. And configure. And not the mama. You. And burp. And blow it away because it. What the fuck was I eating? Yesterday's corn dogs? Holy shit. And allow me to make it so you don't have to look something up for yourself. Because before I tell a crazy fucking dream, I just want to make sure everybody realizes that the crazy fucking dream that this wand came from is as real as that stone it's carved on. Yeah, these guys already remember the dream. I can feel their spirit energy increasing right now. Lovely. Well, this is a dream in which basically Mother Nature, who was dressed a lot like Christiane Amanpour used to, with the tan trench coat kind of thing, just looking like a normal person at the time, hands me the wand, says, right on the wall. And as she puts a crystal into the end of the wand, she says, all of your memories are going to be transmitted through that wand. think the rest of the dialogue I'm hearing was just me marveling at her statement and interpreting what it meant. Because I knew this thing about my memories from this dream of the lighthouse and the word. Like, you know, you take one word with you to your next lifetime. And I knew that was going to be how I found my memories. And it's like, there's my memories right there. And I can't read it because this one's transmitting it in a language that I can't fucking understand. And I remember thinking my entire life, as cool as that dream was, it must have been just a dream. Because the first thing I wrote with the wand was a stick figure. And, you know, being a little boy, like, it made perfect sense that a little boy would, yeah, look, I can draw a stick figure, because, like, you know, it's the first thing you fucking draw, right? I was still finger painting, okay? I was 4 years old. We moved there not long after my 4th birthday. Actually, it snowed on my 4th birthday. Every time I think that's a cat in pain. And it's every time. It's Bad Romance sung by some sort of chickmunk. Every time I think that's a cat getting stepped on or stuck in something. Like, until I hear like the rhythm develop, it's like So anyways, that little stick figure right there is the Hyksos hieroglyph for behold. We'll just keep it there. Well, I would love to get all of this in front of me in order. In rows. Even what's not preserved. Because I have a feeling it tells of a time that I returned to that island. It tells of a very long version of my story. I feel like I made a mistake in 2011 when I decided to make this so challenging for myself. If I had the power now that I had back then, I could just, you know, make my skin blue and my eyes yellow and walk around in public and scare people like I did. It was a good thing I was in the ghetto. That's all I gotta say. tell somebody to watch the stars and then start walking away from them. And all the stars would follow me. You see, for a while, we had this one thing that was sort of a guide to the truth, where Kira and I would be thinking the same thing and our hearts would beat at the same time. And then one of us would ask what the other was thinking. And it could even be just something that I was thinking or something that she was thinking. And I'd be thinking it completely independent of her. And like, did you get a heartbeat? That's how I knew something was true. Then I even felt like, and this was back, early on in the channel, when the channel was doing well, actually. It was around that time period. Maybe before that, I'm not sure. I'll try to figure out what exactly. But I started feeling like that was too much of an advantage. Because, look. Being psychic, being clairvoyant, it's not as easy as that. Because you still have thoughts, you still have imagination. It's basically the only way for a human being to come to differentiate those things because of the power of a human being, because of the power of a human soul, is to have a demon, and not just one of those regular assigned demons. Not one of the 17 anyways. That can act as an interpreter. And the price of this is that creative energy that you're not actually meant to understand while you're walking in these bodies in this lifetime. The temptation is understandable. But I think, as I have demonstrated, when the universe, when God wants you to know, you'll know. And as far as whether or not what you're being told is demonic or not, what your idea is demonic or not, what the truth is demonic or not, judge it by its works. Because when it all comes down to it, God has, whoever you want to think about it, if there is such a thing as a God, has the power to, with a snap of their fingers, rewrite all of history, even the history of the gods that came after him. So that when speculating of esoterics, it's not as necessary to be precise as it is to find proper meaning. And that's what esoterics are. Because there are two truths to this. The one fact is all of those things have happened. There is no one truth. There's only one truth in this reality. But you are a child of God. And one day, your ideas can be a reality. Now, as for this reality, you can see on these hieroglyphs the continuous usage of upper and lower kingdom symbols. Which is this guy, bless his heart, thinks it's about UFOs and stuff like that. No. I can see part of my story right there. Okay, see the semicircle, right? That's the heaven above. Okay. The little box is the ruler's box, like I demonstrated with the solar archaeological finding. And then there are two dots within that box. That right there is the Garden of Eden. The heavenly one. Anyways, so, I just got a glimpse of the story. Not enough to talk about that. But I'm going to explore it later. Anyways, the good thing about memories is when you remember them, as opposed to like conversational things that you're just trying to think of, right? Or lies, is that they're easy to keep track of. So, this symbol right here, upper kingdom, and the opposite is lower kingdom. I think it's when it's not sealed off at the bottom that it means heavenly upper kingdom as opposed to worldly upper kingdom. It's like a later semi-metaphorical usage of the symbol, and in broader based hieroglyphs than this. Here you will find a mixture of runes and just things that don't seem like they belong. And anyways, but this symbol right here, if you go and watch the Forgotten Origin, you just search for Australian hieroglyphs and you'll see ForgottenOrigin.com as the YouTube channel, I think. Dot spelled out. Stephen Strong is the guy's name. And it's like a group of people that he works with now. They've been studying a lot of different ancient sites in Australia, you'll see a picture of the whale cloud. Is the most ancient Maori hieroglyph that there is. Okay. You know, that thing that I painted in my dream with the fucking stick, that's real, and so is the whale cloud, as far as being ancient and esoteric. Just something people forgot, apparently. And by that I mean the eye with the fin. That I came walking out of from the future. I mean, it's just that simple. That's me in the future. That was fucking mind-boggling. In the future and the past. All of my lifetimes combined. Are you Captain Planet? If I make fun of him, is that blasphemy? Ah. Physically fit. Physically fit. Physically fit. Oh. Mark that as the universe laughing. I'm gonna have that in my head all day. I like to move it, move it. Yeah, I like to move it, move it. You like to move it, move it. Move it! Alright, okay, I'm moving on. I'm sorry. I'm easily amused. What can I say? I can say that I'm easily amused. I just said it. Mic drop? No. Never mind. Anyways, save my changes to that. No. I need to do that. Need to get that off of there. I need to put this up here. Because earlier, I was a drawing. And, yeah, that's fucking good enough. Oh, yeah. The OCD is sinking in. What can I say? How would you like to be my new window friend? There we go. So, I was trying to tell a little story here with just, MS Paint fucking shapes and some things I copy-pasted off the internet. So anyways, as I was going to first just make a pantheon, I then started having the urge to maybe just tell like a fucking picture story, Because pictures are good. They help me remember things. I'm not a big fan of books without pictures in them. Maybe that makes me a moron. I don't care. Maybe that just means I like fucking pictures. Maybe it means that I just prefer hieroglyphs. But in a lot of ways, they seem to be much more efficient. In a lot of ways, they don't. It seems to me that there were proper forms of writing at one point that sort of mixed the two. But then those meanings were gradually forgotten because of the advent of a caste system, which only kept a certain few from knowing the esoteric side of the language. And now we have our character alphabet, because we're so modern and smart. But anyways, so the progression of the creation of good and evil in order for God and Goddess to exist together is sort of the one of the well, that's not the right thing. Sort of one of the keys to understanding the cross, the four-leaf clover, the square, if you will. I just like us closer together. And as many arrangements as you can think of this as being, there were. In order for me to understand which arrangement this particular universe is, I still have to talk to Hathor. That's part of the arrangement that was made. So anyways, I find that when I start to do hieroglyph type things, that it's almost like my instincts want to take over. I start feeling compelled. Start feeling guided. I start feeling the natural flow of things. And now, earlier, when I was just sort of messing around with stuff, I'm just fighting, like, I'm fighting my fucking creative urge right now. Hold on, I like, have to do this. Hold on. Because it makes perfect sense. No. Okay, so now I can breathe. Man, I sure wish it would let me get y'all a better view of that. Hold on. There we go. So anyways, now that my mind finally cleared of that impulse, earlier, when I was trying to arrange the Pantheon and I could not clear my mind of the impulses that led to the start of that shape. You know, bear in mind, I had initially thought I was just going to start a broadcast and then start arranging the things on there and talking about the different histories in the Bible and stuff. And then I just found that I had to put the shapes a certain way. Looks like we got cut off. Suddenly I see there's 0 people watching. Last I checked there was 3. Thought I might wait a second before I actually get to the damn dream. There was a thing about 17 that I thought was interesting. I can't fucking remember right now. But I think related directly to the QAnon people. Holy crap, my muff bear's empty. Pop Off Berries back in action. Speaking of the fish tanks, and before I get back to the actual dream, I may have found something that has improved Totsky's condition, but I'm going to wait until tomorrow morning. I have at least some evidence that one of the things that worked could indicate a misdiagnosis. She could have anchor worms. It's a different type of worm than a fluke worm, or like an ick kind of infection. But they can cause lots of other different types of problems. But it's not until they are reproductive that they show a discernible sign. But praziquantel, or the name brand version that you buy in the fish hobby, is Pro. Seems to have worked, because I actually found some of the little fucking things that were hanging off of her not on her anymore, and then I found them when I siphoned the bottom of the fish tank, and I said, fuck yeah. So hopefully she'll be breathing a little better by the morning. As bad as she's been looking for the past couple of weeks, I'm just surprised she's still hanging in there, really. So I gave her, she's been in a copper treatment, and I gave her a formalin bath earlier. I didn't seem to do much. And I gave her a serious Pro bath, to where she was like uncomfortable and like it almost killed her. I said, it's either going to be you or the fucking sickness. And like I realized I had added a little too much, and I just started like adding clean water back in there until she was comfortable-ish. Well, that was exciting. Sorry about that. You ever have somebody just kind of step down on a wire that was plugged into your laptop? Yeah, that was sudden. That's what that was. Fuck. But anyways, so Tatsi's doing all right. She's hanging in there. She did not eat today. She ate yesterday. Did not eat today. Having trouble keeping the water quality good in there, because beneficial bacteria don't like copper. But anyways, hope she makes it. And I hope I make it through this freaking broadcast before I gotta go. Well, so in the beginning, for God and Goddess to have children, to have creation, to have communion. They had to create a world where not only their powers would be limited, but that the beings in charge, and there need to be beings in charge of governing the flow of souls from upper and lower worlds, would have a chance to know normal life too one day. So this arrangement that you see, the crops, that's the foundation of the world. That's the foundation of everything. That's the foundation of creation. That's the flow of souls. When you're done in heaven, who plans out your life? Who's going to send you through all those horrible tests? It's going to make Jesus say, "Are you sure about this shit?" You're like, "Yeah, I got this." Well, that's whoever's sitting in the lower kingdom on the throne. If I remember this story correctly, it wasn't about a fruit. And I don't quite remember what it was about. But it's like, dude, I was there. There was some drama going on. You got the characters right. But fruit? But that's a different reoccurring dream than the one that's drawing this. And I just mean the little circles at the top and the bottom in this arrangement. And like just meditating on this arrangement and how it was in the beginning. How it was before the flood, before the foundations of the earth were reshaped. And man, that symbol That's exactly what it looks like. It's a sunrise. Which one? Both. Gravity, however, that is gravity, the force of death, the gravity of the situation. It doesn't mean the weight of it. If you're wondering what the curse of the ground is, you're standing on it. I don't mean to speak in riddles, but that was an easy one. So, now I must gesture to explain. Because, no. Can I get a real cam? In fact, why don't I go ahead and put my background together so I'm all spiffy. With my fucking peanut shirt. I don't have much time left, so I'm ready to get a move on here. Okay. Oh yeah, that's not even the right side. What? Oh yeah, because it's a new one. Damn it. And flip. Okay. There we go. It's fucking good enough, damn it. Alright. So, the dream, the reoccurring dream, that if you have, you probably get the sense of you're in a world that defies comprehension, that obviously doesn't relate to this one in any way. And I used to wonder if this was like somehow related to the Tower of Babylon, and in a way it is. So, the reality is in the beginning, you're definitely looking at a flat Earth. Okay. Just like that. Flat as a fucking board. And, you know, you can consider a dome if you'd like, but to say it actually had shape would be a way of explaining it to a child. But the underworld, when it was truly a Hades-like place, the buildings, if you'd want to call them that, were hanging. And it seemed like almost as though you came from a like a hollowed out stalactite. And this is when it was populated, which was a long time ago. I don't think that place exists anymore. But imagine, you know, if you see those like space-age tower cities, right? But make it all upside down and make it all made of shitty-looking moist stone. I'm trying to remember if I even saw a way to get to the other places, if there were any. Because it seemed like there were a lot. Like, can you imagine just sitting there hanging in a hollowed out fucking room with a little square fucking window? Just big enough for you to fit through, right? And pretty much all you can do is either sit there or fall and see what happens. So what a lot of people do is they fall. Now, if you remember in the dream, everybody's fucking piling up, stacking up on top of each other. That's what happens in the middle. See, when you fall, here, you eventually come to the center and you just hit this pillar of people. That's why you don't know how you got there. Nobody ever starts this dream walking up to the pillar. And if you think about just like the underworld laws of physics or the heliocentric laws of physics, if souls are going to be falling downwards, it's going to be this mass that they're going to be falling towards. Meaning that there's more mass of souls than there are of Earth. Gravity. And you fall downward and downward and downward. Until you just kind of float into the fucking pile of people. People climb up and fall. trying to get to? I'm not exactly sure. But that's what I saw when I started drawing that shape. I saw the sun rising. From this rocky edge of this place. It was rising upside down. And it seemed more like a dark city type sized place than a whole world. Which I guess wasn't much of a problem if people just keep on jumping down, trying to climb their way back up. You know how when you go to sleep and you're dreaming, sometimes the only way to wake back up is to go back to sleep in your dream? But when you're climbing up the pillar, a lot of these people are asleep and locked in place. It's probably the key to getting back. The basic test of the soul. Are you willing to sacrifice yourself for others? Are you willing to give up and put your life in God's hands? Give up on your own ambition to keep climbing, stepping on other people, and pulling them out of your way. Just say, let my body be a pillar for others to make it. Even if I'm left behind. That, to me, is a quality worth redeeming. I imagine you have, Mr. Conway. As often as you've studied about many of them. The halls of your ancestors, as it were. Exactly what they are. Anyways. So, any questions? I gotta roll. Oh, and I'm out of cigarettes, so definitely have to roll. The key to having psychic abilities when you're a Christian is you have to compare everything to God's will. After shutting it off, I mean. Because you're still going to have times when you need it. So you make a bargain with God and say, only when it's your will do I want to know anything. And I rely on you, O God, to protect me from all this damn noise. What I'm trying to say is God is kind of like Rumpelstiltskin. I'm kidding. Anyways. So, I guess no questions. I hope y'all found that as fascinating and weird as I did. But I'm going to go ahead and call this a broadcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out and chatting. And yes, someday I hope we're all old enough to start reading fairy tales again. Click the like button. Peace.
In my heart, and baby, now